Hey leaders, in this episode of Leading Collaborative Response, Lorna and I have the opportunity to break down the school support team meeting. This is one of the critical layers of collaboration that we see in a school's collaborative response, and we take the time to break down the purpose and then look at what is the structure that leads to a highly effective and impactful school support team meeting. Looking forward to sharing with you. Let's begin.
Are you a leader who is navigating the nuances of leading collaborative response in your school or district? Are you unsure of what collaborative response is? Are you looking to understand the critical role leadership plays when establishing and refining a collaborative response approach?
Collaborative response began as a grassroots approach to focus on the needs of students through a framework of collaboration. That approach has grown to a movement that is training leadership and education.
Through the Leading Collaborative Response podcast, Kurtis and I share our own experiences of leading collaborative response and lessons learned as we continue to learn and gain insight through the experiences of working alongside others. We also have the opportunity to engage in conversations with school and divisional leaders implementing the framework in their own organizations.
We know great leaders build great teams because that is what every child deserves. Subscribe to the Leading Collaborative Response podcast and join the thousands of schools seeing success for students through intentional and focused collaborative efforts. Yeah, hard to believe, as we mentioned last week, that we are right in the thick of October already.
I know, and I think I'm going to have to give up my capris and my sandals. I'm very, very sad, but
Absolutely.
I think cold weather is on its way, so.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that I was engaged in a conversation with a few schools this week, and you actually have a workshop coming up next week on the structure of the school support team. So for those that are just starting to get an understanding of collaborative response, we talk about these three foundational components of collaborative structures and processes, data and evidence, and a continuum of supports, and how those three, we often have to take those pieces apart to examine and understand, but then the real work of collaborative response is trying to put them back together with alignment, consistency, and intentionality. But within that collaborative structures and processes, we talk about this newfound understanding. When I say newfound, it's been within the last 2, 3, 4 years, maybe that understanding that actually the layers of collaboration that happen in a school are critically important, and we identify 4 fundamental layers that need to be in place in every school.
Yeah.
Whether there's 30 students or 3,000.
And usually when we begin an overview workshop, then we talk about those 4 layers, but we really don't spend a whole lot of time clarifying that school support team, because many, many schools already have that structure in place, but to varying degrees. And so when we hit that second year or even third year of implementation, being able to look definitely at that school support team and what are the structures and processes that you are engaging within that school support team, and how do they help you to communicate and connect with the other layers of teams as well.
So when we think about those 4 layers, we talk about moving from least intensive to most intensive when it comes to examination of individual students. We go from the collaborative planning to the collaborative team meeting, which is a really critical structure, to the school support team, to then the case consult where we're looking at one student. But that school support team, how would you respond when people ask the question, what's its purpose? What's its function within those 4 layers?
Oh my gosh. In my thinking, the school support team is the hub. And it actually is an integral team to be able to determine what are the supports that we are going to provide school-wide, When is it time for us to move on to a case consult? When is it time for us to be able to access external supports? When is it time to go back to the classroom or back to the collaborative team meeting to be able to provide more classroom support?
Right.
So
it may be that we need professional learning infused into some of our other layers to help support. Maybe it's a consistent issue that's coming up repeatedly within our school support team.
Yeah, absolutely. And in my mind, it truly is the hub of all of that decision making. So I would say too that we don't want that hub to be in a reactive mode, but rather proactive thinking, how do we regularly meet, regularly communicate what is happening at that school level?
So that was going to be one of the things that I was going to pose out. We'll be right back to continue this episode.
The key to a comprehensive collaborative response in schools is understanding that layers of teams need to be established in order to best support each and every learner, as well as the staff working diligently for their success. In order to coordinate and optimize support beyond the classroom, the school support team is critical. However, how that team is organized matters. Join us for the online workshop, Ensuring Effective Response Beyond the Classroom, 5 Considerations for Effective School Support Team Meetings, part of our Supporting Collaborative Response series. In this workshop, I will reveal 5 considerations for every school trying to take their school support teams to the next level. I'll also be sharing numerous resources, templates, and samples to help transform the supports put in place beyond the classroom.
Access this on-demand workshop and you'll have the ability to view and replay all or any portion of the workshop when it best fits your time.
Register today to learn more about this critical collaborative structure, integral within a school's collaborative response.
And now back to our conversation. Is you and I both within our own school had talked about the idea of, well, we come together when we have to, when a situation warrants it, we kind of make the call and we'll meet after school. But how we actually found that was counterintuitive to what you're saying of being proactive. It was very reactive. It was not systematic in the way we were providing support. So how do you respond now when we do hear that from schools that say, well, sometimes we're a small school, so we meet when we need to, or, we're really busy. We haven't fit it in.
Sometimes schools wear that as a badge of honor, that we're just responding on the fly all the time.
Oh yeah, we're talking about kids all the time.
In the hallway and after school and at lunch.
Which actually is not, we're not saying that's a horrible
you're not
thing.
ever going to do that.
Talking about kids.
No, for sure not. But when we are responding in that way and never have a regular time where we're coming together.
Structured time
too. Yeah, with the agenda and all of the components we talk about within the other meetings as well. But without that, then that's still that reactive frame where we're just responding in the fly, and we may not always have record of what's happening for students or document what's going on or communicate to the right people.
Or communicate to the rest of the team that we have a space where we are attending to students needing additional supports. We don't have to, and especially with the collaborative team meeting, ensure that student is surfacing there as well. It actually communicates when somebody says, I'd like to talk about this student with a high degree of complexity in our collaborative team meeting. It allows us to say, oh, actually, we already have that student on our agenda, or let's put that student on our agenda because this might not be the right space for that conversation.
And you have a definite time to be able to speak about what's happening for that student. The other part of this too is, again, that alignment of our systems, and that through collaborative response, that's what you're really trying to be able to get to, is that what are the teams that we are providing support for our students in a systematic way, and that our teachers can depend on those teams getting together regularly to provide that support.
Well, and when we think about our continuum of supports, it's highly intentional that the school support team, that third layer, is aligned with tier 3, the supports provided by someone other than the classroom teacher, that there is an alignment between supports provided beyond the classroom and the team that's helping to coordinate that.
And that's when we start to look at, and that coordination can be complex, especially when we start looking at intervention groups that were bringing students together around a specific skill. Well, we've got to coordinate that, and children may not always be from the same classroom or even the same grade.
Absolutely. All right, so this week, actually, Lorna is hosting an online workshop. It's part of our Supporting Collaborative Response series and focusing on 5 considerations for the school support team. So I know that you'll be sharing a lot of resources, samples, and thoughts for how to really effectively structure that school support team. We'll also include in the email where this video comes out, and we'll put it into the YouTube as well, a blog posting and some further information to help support schools in this, again, critical layer.
Yeah, absolutely excited about being able to talk about the school support team a little bit more, and I would invite you to join me.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. We wish you all the best. Have a wonderful long weekend and take care.
Take care.
Join us again to continue to build your own capacity and leading collaborative response in your context.